as we explore quantum body and what's beyond, as we continue our explorations. Today, I saw that the latest issue of the New Scientist, which I get on my phone, the headline says, "Rethinking Reality. Is the entire universe a single quantum object?" So it seems that we are finally getting there, right? Rethinking Reality. Is the entire universe a single quantum object? And then, the subtitle, "In the face of new evidence, physicists are starting to view the cosmos not as made up of disparate layers, but as a quantum whole linked by entanglement." Okay, so we've been saying this for a long time, right? So I can read the whole article, but basically it says that reductionism may be a red herring, and as you know, we have always suggested, at least the spiritual traditions, that reductionism is wrong science, even though current physical science is based on reductionism. In any case, if the universe is a single quantum object, then what is the single subject that actually knows this or has a mode of knowing the cosmos as a single quantum object? You can't have an object without a subject. It's as simple as that. So this brings us back to the teachings of Advaita, Kashmir Shaivism, and non-duality. These traditions hold that ultimate reality is non-dual, meaning it's not divided into subject and object, self and the world. The two are inseparably one. Subject and object, self and the world are inseparably one. Entanglement might be a good word, or non-local correlation, or acausal non-local interrelatedness. So consciousness, frequently referred in these traditions as Brahman or Shiva, is the fundamental ground of all existence. And then everything we observe, all quantum objects, all physical objects, all mental objects, all anything that appears on the screen of consciousness is a modified form of that consciousness. And this is where the experience and knowing in awareness aspects of this model come in. The world of objects, the world of mind, the world of body, and the universe itself are seen as modifications of this awareness, arising within it like waves in the ocean. While seemingly separate, they're ultimately inseparable from the underlying ocean of consciousness. So then what are objects? What are mental objects and what are physical objects or physical bodies, animate or inanimate? Or what are events for that matter? They're all modes of knowing. Once again, they are ways of knowing the one reality. The one reality knows itself as mental objects, mind, intellect, ego, as physical objects, including the iPhone or the coffee cup or the physical body. So each perceived object and each perceived event, because actually objects in the deeper reality are events, they are space-time events. They are actually modifications of consciousness and therefore modes of knowing. Each perceived object is a manifestation of consciousness taking form in our experience. And where is that experience occurring? In formless awareness. In this sense, everything, all events, all objects become a mode of knowing the ultimate oneness, which has all knowers, all modes of knowing, and all things known. So it's important to remember this is not currently the scientific worldview. It's not currently the scientific worldview, but it is a worldview that I subscribe to, a worldview that is both ancient and a worldview which will ultimately resurrect science and make it whole. I view consciousness as the fundamental ground of all existence, not just a product of the brain. I've said this many times. I see it as an all-encompassing field of awareness present in everything from stars and galaxies to our own subjective experience of subatomic particles. That's a subjective experience. You need a mode of knowing called a hadron collider or whatever to know what we call a particle. It doesn't matter if it's a Higgs boson or a quark, it's a mode of knowing. And so non-duality and interconnectedness is actually more than interconnectedness, it's inseparability. There are no lines between self and other, no lines between observer and observed. And what we call the quantum model is a model in that one awareness. So delving into quantum mechanics and suggesting that consciousness influences the physical world through the observer effects and non-local phenomena are quantum fields. And they're fields of potentiality waiting to be shaped by our conscious awareness. This, of course, needs for us to go beyond the false identity, which is the body-mind or the ego-body-mind. So the ego-body-mind is a limited sense of self that leads to separation and suffering. So transcending the ego and aligning it with the infinite field of consciousness is to experience wholeness and therefore healing. And the practical applications of this are, of course, meditation as a tool to access and expand consciousness, and slowing down the mind, being present to experience as it is happening, and then tapping into the deeper currents of awareness ultimately leads us to liberation from suffering and a more fulfilling life. So I'm glad that the New Scientist is revisiting reality, as we all, I think, should, because once we have a science based on the wholeness of experience, I think we will create new technologies as well to expand our experience of the virtual reality that our body-mind is also immersed in and a part of. We are the holomovent of the one being, the holomovement of the one being. The holomovement of the one being. And that ultimately leads to the experience called infinite love. Let me know if this resonates.